The darkness above Earth flickered with unfamiliar constellations, a sky rewritten by forces beyond human control. The first disappearance had been subtle, a missing herd of deer, a sudden absence of birds in an entire county. Then, overnight, every zoo, every national park, every wildlife reserve was empty. Elephants, wolves, even the microscopic bacteria in the soil, gone. The world had woken to a silence unnatural to its existence. The official statement from the world governments offered no comfort. An anomaly, they called it. A global phenomenon under investigation. But the truth had clawed its way onto the screens of every household within days. Surveillance footage of great, hovering vessels, beams of light whisking away creatures of every species into the unknown. The message that followed, broadcast across every frequency, was chilling in its politeness. To the denizens of Earth, we are the Korthani, stewards of biological preservation. Your ecosystem is imbalanced, your creatures dwindling. We have corrected this. Fear not. You may proceed as usual. Proceed as usual. The arrogance of it nearly broke the human spirit. Cities had lost their stray dogs and pet cats. Farmers awoke to find their livestock gone. Even the oceans whispered of emptiness, with fleets returning to harbors without a single fish in their nets. It was a theft unlike any in history, an insult that cut deeper than war. And yet, in their omnipotence, the Korthani had overlooked one simple truth: humans are animals, too. No one knew this better than Lieutenant Adrian Voss. He had been in the field when it happened, leading an expedition in the Amazon to track and tag jaguars. The jungle had gone silent that morning. No howler monkeys, no chattering insects, nothing. His satellite communicator crackled with confused voices, scientists and soldiers alike reporting the same eerie emptiness from across the planet. And then, the skies opened, and the world changed forever. Voss had barely made it out. He and his team had watched in horror as the Korthani collectors descended, their technology far beyond human comprehension. They had run, driven by primal terror, through a jungle that no longer roared. Some had fallen behind. Others had vanished in beams of light. By the time Voss reached the nearest human settlement, he had sworn one thing. He would bring them back. Weeks passed, and humanity seethed. Governments scrambled for answers, but what could they do against an enemy so advanced they barely acknowledged human existence? Protests burned across the world, but outrage could not fill empty oceans or silent forests. Then came the first reports from space. A rogue satellite, repurposed by a group of defiant engineers, had intercepted signals from the Korthani fleet. They had not simply taken Earth's creatures. They had placed them. Somewhere beyond the asteroid belt, an artificial planet teemed with stolen life, a galactic zoo displaying Earth's creatures for an audience unseen. For some, this revelation was a tragedy. For Voss, it was an opportunity. He wasn't the only one who thought so. The resistance was already forming: scientists, mercenaries, hackers, ex-military, and the forgotten people of the world who had nothing left but fury. They called themselves the Apex Initiative, a name that carried an unspoken promise. If the Korthani wanted Earth's creatures, they would give them Earth's most dangerous predators. The first challenge was transport. Humanity had no ships that could reach Korthani space undetected. That was, until a defector arrived. Dr. Liana Barlow had been a xenobiologist in an underground research facility when the sky had opened. Unlike others, she had been given a choice: accompany the Korthani or be left behind. She had gone, not out of loyalty, but to learn. Now, she had returned with knowledge and a ship, a stolen Korthani scout vessel. It was small, barely enough for a strike team, but it was enough. Voss stood in the bay of the ship as the crew gathered, the weight of the mission settling over them. Beside him, a jaguar paced, its golden eyes gleaming with the same silent anger that burned in every human heart. "We get in," Voss said, voice steady. "We find our people. We take back what's ours. And we teach them exactly why you don't steal from Earth." A murmur of agreement spread through the team. They were soldiers, engineers, hunters, and scientists. But above all, they were human. And humans had always been the deadliest species on their planet. As the ship lifted off, leaving behind the wounded Earth, they knew one thing for certain. The Korthani had made a grave mistake. The stolen Korthani scout vessel hummed with alien energy as it cut through the black expanse of space. Inside, the team of Apex Initiative operatives reviewed the mission parameters again and again, though the plan remained brutally simple: infiltrate, locate, and reclaim. The stolen life of Earth was out there, caged on a distant artificial world, and they would bring it back no matter what. But their approach had to be precise, their timing flawless. The Korthani, for all their arrogance, were meticulous about their security. Every entry and exit from their biopreservation planet was recorded, monitored, and defended. Voss leaned over the control panel, watching the artificial planet grow larger on their viewfinder. A perfectly terraformed sphere, lush and thriving, yet utterly alien. The Korthani had built themselves a masterpiece, a curated collection of Earth's wildlife, free from human hands. Dr. Barlow sat beside him, deciphering the Korthani command sequences she had memorized from her time aboard their fleet. She had been their guest, their scientist, but now she was something else entirely: a traitor, a rebel, and their key to breaking in. "They don't expect anything that thinks to be a threat," she murmured. "They're monitoring heat signatures, movement patterns, biometric data, but only for non-sapient life. If we can slip through that threshold..." Voss exhaled sharply. "We're not supposed to exist in their eyes. Let's make them regret that oversight." With a carefully calculated approach vector, the stolen ship entered the artificial world's atmosphere. Below them, sprawling biomes stretched out in perfect imitation of Earth: dense rainforests, endless savannas, towering mountain ranges. But even through the beauty, something felt wrong. The silence was all-encompassing. No human cities, no voices. Only the stolen echoes of Earth's past. The ship touched down on a concealed ridge overlooking a vast reserve. Below, creatures of all species roamed freely, unaware of their captivity. Giraffes grazed beside Bengal tigers, packs of wolves prowled near herds of wildebeest. The Korthani had not just taken them, they had curated them, manipulating their environments into an artificial balance. The team disembarked quickly, securing the perimeter. Voss signaled for silence as they moved, sticking to the underbrush, shadows against the unblemished landscape. Barlow pulled up her scanner. Life signatures everywhere. But the real question is, where are the Korthani? "They'll be watching," said Cole, the team's infiltration specialist. "They'll be expecting a natural disturbance. Not us." They pressed forward, slipping between natural barriers until they reached the first sign of Korthani presence: a vast observation station, sleek and metallic, seamlessly integrated into the landscape. Voss motioned for the team to split up. Their first objective was simple: gather intelligence, find the control systems, and disable whatever security measures they could. Barlow and two others moved toward a command hub, working their way inside with stolen Korthani credentials. Meanwhile, Voss and Cole observed the wildlife from a concealed vantage point. "They've kept them too docile," Cole muttered. "Predators and prey existing side by side. They've engineered out the aggression." Voss clenched his jaw. The animals had been stripped of what made them wild. What made them Earth's own? A crackle in his earpiece. Barlow's voice, tense. "Voss, we've got a problem." "What is it?" She hesitated. "They aren't just preserving. They're experimenting." A chill ran down his spine. "Explain." "We found records. They've been altering the genetic sequences of Earth's wildlife. Selective enhancements, control markers, biological programming. They weren't just taking Earth's creatures. They were trying to perfect them." Voss exchanged a glance with Cole, fury bubbling beneath the surface. "Then we shut it down. Now." Their mission had been about retrieval. But now, it was about more than that. The Korthani had tampered with nature, twisted it to fit their idealized vision. That would not stand. The team worked swiftly, planting explosives at key infrastructure points, sabotaging the security feeds. But it wasn't long before the Korthani realized something was wrong. Alarms blared across the compound. A robotic voice echoed in an alien tongue, warning of intruders. Lights flared in the distance, patrol drones activating, scanning the terrain. The Korthani may have dismissed humans as insignificant, but they were still cautious beings. Voss gave the signal. Engage only if necessary. We can't let them track us back to the ship. They moved as one, weaving through the artificial jungle, their training and instincts carrying them forward. But the Korthani had numbers, technology, and a home field advantage. The fight had begun, and there was no turning back. As the first Korthani patrol unit approached, Voss raised his weapon and took aim. The mission had escalated. Now, it was war. The jungle erupted in fire and chaos. Voss moved like a ghost through the artificial wilderness, his rifle a steady extension of his body. The first Korthani patrol had gone down before they even realized the battle had begun, but now the enemy was awake. Floodlights sliced through the dense foliage, drones zipped overhead scanning for heat signatures, and the air filled with the electric hum of Korthani shock weapons. "We need to split," Barlow's voice crackled in his earpiece. "They're moving too fast. We can't let them surround us." Voss cursed under his breath but nodded, even though she couldn't see. "Cole, take your unit east. Disable their sensors. We need some darkness back on our side. Barlow, you and I push forward to the genetic facility. We end this before they can regroup." A chorus of affirmatives followed, and the team splintered, vanishing into the terrain like predators in the night. Voss sprinted forward, Barlow close behind, ducking beneath the outstretched vines of some bioengineered hybrid plant that reeked of synthetic chlorophyll. His mind raced. The Korthani had spent years perfecting this stolen world, molding it into their vision of a pristine, optimized Earth. He intended to burn it down. As they neared the facility, the defenses intensified. Korthani soldiers, tall, willowy figures in segmented armor, moved with fluid precision, their weapons discharging arcs of blue energy. Voss and Barlow hit the ground as a blast scorched the air inches above them. He rolled to his feet, firing in return. The alien dropped, its body convulsing before lying still. "Doors sealed," Barlow called out, working frantically on the control panel. "Give me a minute." Voss spun, keeping watch as more patrols converged. A distant explosion rumbled through the jungle. Cole's team was doing their part. "You've got 30 seconds. Barlow's fingers danced over the alien interface, her stolen knowledge from her time with the Korthani proving invaluable. Almost, there. The metal doors hissed open, and they slipped inside, sealing it behind them. The facility was vast, a sterile white interior filled with observation tanks, data terminals, and rows of suspended creatures in various states of modification. Some looked almost normal. Others were monstrosities. "This is worse than I thought," Barlow muttered, eyes scanning the grotesque displays. They weren't just modifying behavior. They were reshaping them. Voss approached a containment unit where a wolf stared at him with golden, intelligent eyes. It was larger than it should be, its muscles corded with unnatural strength. It didn't snarl, didn't back away. It simply watched. He reached out, placing his hand against the glass. The wolf mirrored the motion with a clawed paw. "These creatures don't belong to them," he said, voice hard. "We're taking them back." Barlow nodded, already working on overriding the containment protocols. The screens flickered, alien text scrolling rapidly as she fought against the system's security. An alarm blared. "They're locking it down," she gritted out. "They know we're inside." Voss tapped his earpiece. "Cole, report. Hit their relay station, but we've got incoming, fast. They're throwing everything they have at us. Fall back to the ship when you can," Voss ordered. "We're going to need an exit." Another explosion rocked the facility as the Korthani forces closed in. Barlow let out a triumphant shout as the containment cells unlocked. The cages slid open, and for a breathless moment, the animals hesitated. Then, instinct took over. Wolves padded out, muscles rippling. Jaguars melted into the shadows. A massive grizzly bear let out a deep, guttural growl that reverberated through the walls. The Korthani had taken Earth's wildlife. Now, Earth's wildlife would take them back. Voss raised his rifle and gave the signal. "Let's show them what apex predators really look like." The facility turned into a battlefield as the creatures, finally free, launched themselves at their captors. Voss and Barlow moved in sync, cutting down Korthani guards while dodging the chaos. A hawk swooped past, talons raking across a soldier's exposed face. A panther dragged another into the darkness, the echoing scream cut short. The Korthani had never fought an enemy like this. They had never been hunted. The battle raged through the corridors as the Apex Initiative forced its way to the primary control room. Voss kicked down the door, his rifle already raised. Inside, a Korthani scientist stood frozen, his elongated fingers poised over a control panel. "Shut it down," Voss ordered, stepping forward. "All of it." The scientist hesitated. Then, with something resembling fear in his luminous eyes, he obeyed. The alarms silenced. The security locks disengaged. Outside, the wildlife tore through their captors, reclaiming the land that had been stolen from them. Barlow exhaled, slumping slightly against the terminal. "We did it." "No," Voss corrected. "We're not done yet." He turned, gazing at the screens displaying the artificial biomes. This wasn't just one world. There were others. Other species. Other planets where the Korthani had played God. And now, they would answer for it. "Get everyone back to the ship," he said. "We have more hunting to do." The Korthani fleet lay in ruins. What had begun as a covert rescue mission had turned into an all-out war, waged not by armies, but by the creatures of Earth and the humans who had refused to be conquered. Smoke rose from the wreckage of alien ships, drifting into the artificial sky of the stolen biosphere. The Apex Initiative had done more than reclaim Earth's wildlife, they had shattered the illusion of Korthani superiority. Voss stood at the precipice of the wrecked command station, gazing at the liberated wilderness below. The animals roamed free once more, their instincts intact, their wildness unbroken. Humanity had not only reclaimed its stolen life but had proven a universal truth. No species, no force, no self-proclaimed guardian had the right to play God over another. Barlow joined him, her face streaked with dirt and triumph. "We did it," she murmured. "They'll never take from us again." He nodded but did not smile. "They'll try. Maybe not the Korthani. Maybe another empire, another force that sees us as lesser. But now they know the price of underestimating us." Across the landscape, the remaining Korthani survivors had been rounded up, their expressions a mixture of shock and fear. They had believed themselves untouchable, benevolent overseers of a lesser world. Now, they understood what it meant to be prey. A trembling Korthani scientist stepped forward, looking at Voss with something akin to awe. "You are unlike any species we have encountered." Voss let out a slow breath. "You never truly looked at us. You saw only the beasts we tamed, but never the predators who tamed them." The scientist inclined his head. "What will you do with us?" Barlow's fingers tightened on her weapon, but Voss raised a hand. "That's up to you," he said. "You took from us, but we won't become you. Leave this place. Return to your people. Tell them what happened here. Tell them that Earth is not theirs to claim." The Korthani exchanged glances, then, without protest, began their retreat. Their arrogance had died with their fleet. As the Apex Initiative gathered their own, preparing to return home, Barlow finally allowed herself to relax. "So what now?" Voss watched as a pack of wolves ran into the distant trees, their howls echoing through the reclaimed world. "We rebuild. We learn. And the next time someone comes to take what's ours." He turned to his team, their faces fierce, resolute. "We remind them why humans became the apex predators." As their stolen ship ascended, leaving behind the remnants of a shattered empire, Voss allowed himself a moment of reflection. The Korthani had thought themselves saviors, but they had been conquerors in disguise. It was a lesson humanity had learned through its own bloody history, a lesson now passed across the stars. In the end, nature could not be controlled. The wild could not be caged. And Earth, for all its chaos and brutality, was not a world to be tamed. It was a world that fought back. *** Moral. True power is not in dominion, but in understanding. No being has the right to decide the fate of another, for nature will always find a way to reclaim itself. ***.